early 20th century, Fred J. Robinson and Helen Chown had grown up together in the rolling hills of Mountain City, Tennessee. In 1924, Fred J., looking for the promise of life's farmland, had moved to Avondale, Pennsylvania. Several years later, in 1926, the Chown family decided to make the move as well. Fred and Helen were married in 1934 during the height of the Depression. In 1935, Fred and Helen welcomed their firstborn into the world. Richard was a lively young fellow who showed a love for animals from a very young age. Fred moved the family to a small dairy operation on Jackson School Road in Oxford, Pennsylvania. Helen would raise her children in the church. Richard began attending Youth for Christ, and one fateful day, he gave a ride from the Youth for Christ convention in Ocean City, Maryland, to a young lady by the name of Mary Ann Pyle. While the two did not initially seek out each other's company, years later, they would find each other all over again. Richard and Mary Ann were married in the fall of 1962, following Mary Ann's graduation from nursing school. Their family quickly grew with the addition of Richard Allen in 1963. In 1965, Fred and Helen purchased the 153-acre farm at 592 England Creamery Road in Northeast Maryland. The entire family, including Richard, Mary Ann, and 2-year-old Allen, moved to the Robinson farm where they continued the dairy farm tradition. Helen would plant multiple trees on the property, including a small white fir tree which would grow into the beautiful unofficial Christmas tree of Zion. Each year, tens of thousands of lights will get strung throughout the tree. When lit, the tree can be seen from many miles away. The community responds each year with cards, letters, and Christmas treats, and dozens of passerbys stop by just to snap photos. Richard and Mary Ann welcomed Charles Gary, the current curator, in February of 1966, and Dawn Elizabeth was born in June of 1968. Many years later, in 1982, they welcomed another daughter, Paula Louise, who would decidedly be the final addition to their family. They determined that their children would all be given a proper Christian education, and all 4 of the children would attend Elkton Christian School at great sacrifice. Fred and Richard developed the dairy operation to 60 head while growing the staples of alfalfa, corn, barley, and grass hay. They would continue to work together to manage the farm until 1979, when Fred decided that he would retire and turn the farm over to the capable hands of Richard and his 2 sons. With a good bit of hard work and ingenuity, they would grow the herd to 80. Alan and Charles grew up like most farm boys. They were constantly working the farm while attending school. By the time they were in high school, they had saved enough money to buy their own tractor. In 1983, they collectively purchased an International 826, and 1 year later, their first John Deere, an old 5020. In 1984, a John Deere round baler was purchased, and the custom work, a staple income for the Robinson farm, began. In 1989, the brothers purchased a bagger and began promoting the benefits of linear grounded bags over the use of silos, continuing the growth of custom farm work. In 1993, with milk prices at an all-time low, the family decided that it was time to move away from the daily grind of the dairy operation. Allen entered the workforce and eventually landed at the Southern States Cooperative, where he worked as a spray applicator for 18 years. In 2016, he would make the jump to Cochranville Ag, where he became part of the crop production team. Richard and Charles made the transition from dairy to raising a beef herd. They obtained several bloodlines of beef and bred an eclectic herd. One of the family favorites was a Brahma cow named Floppy. She would go on to bear Duchess, a blonde Brahma, who would rule the roost at the Robinson farm for nearly 2 decades. Dutchie loved the attention that Richard and Charlie would dote on her. Traces of the Brahma bloodline can still be found in the herd today. Charles made it his business to have a healthy herd. The herd today primarily includes Angus and Limousin bloodlines with trace mixtures of Hereford, Longhorn, and Belted Galloway. Charlie is always looking for new blood in bulls and has been known to travel as far away as Ohio looking for fresh lines. In 2003, Charlie joined Hubner Seed as a dealer. He regularly sells many varieties of corn and soybeans to local customers. Every year in September, he gathers all of his customers together for a Customer Appreciation Day. This becomes a family affair as everyone pitches in to prepare for the big day. Mary Ann is arguably one of the best home cooks around. Of course, they may be biased. And she starts planning the menu weeks in advance. She manages the preparation of food for as many as 60 people with ease. Mary Ann has always found joy in helping around the farm. She has always been comfortable out in the barn, helping with whatever task was needed. She has been known to round up groups of kids for what she would call rock parties and wrangle them through the fields as they picked up the stone that would somehow sprout out every spring. In 2012, Mary Ann retired from Calvert Manor Healthcare Center, where she was employed as a nurse for 39 years. Richard would continue to work the farm until his health forced him to slow down in 2010. He still worked on the farm with limited responsibilities, but focused his efforts on growing green beans and tomatoes instead of soybeans and corn. He would constantly look for new methods to increase his garden growing space and production. Richard passed away in 2015, leaving behind a lifetime of knowledge which he had instilled in his children. Charles Robinson has lived and operated on Robinson Farm for his entire life. He grew and managed the beef herd to the very respectable state that it currently is. Charlie has researched and studied farming for his entire adult life and is now considered to be an expert by his community. He has developed a keen eye in husbandry and is always willing to take a phone call or visit with a fellow farmer mulling over an issue. He has made strong ties in his community and has developed lasting friendships with other farmers in the county. He, along with several other farmers, have developed an unofficial cooperative in which they will assist each other with the tasks that take more hands. Several times a year, the group will get together and work cows through vaccination and pregnancy checking, one farmer's herd after the next. They work with efficiency, each person with a role in getting the job done, and hundreds of cows worked in a day. Charlie has also taken an active role in his community. He has served on the board of the Cecil County Farm Bureau, the Weed Control Board, and the Ag Land Preservation Board. Charles Robinson has proven himself to be a friend to the farming community and a positive influence in the agriculture of Cecil County. He is selfless and outstanding in his field. Charles will continue to be a role model for future generations of farmers. Congratulations, Charles Robinson, for having been chosen for the 2008 Outstanding Farm Operation of the Year.